and then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's
right
crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
that's
Paul,
right
Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 135 versus 200. That is so nuts.
They go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him. Yes. He recognizes that he's too big for him.
One thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, all kidding aside, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later.
On his podcast, Joe Rogan discussed the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, saying, "This could get ugly." He focused on the big weight gap and reminded everyone that weight classes exist for safety. Rogan explained that Jake's size and power are his advantages, while Davis's skill and speed make things interesting. But he warned that the size difference could make the fight dangerous and unfair.
My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love everybody.
That had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia, so it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in. They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in.
Joe Rogan keeps highlighting how crazy the weight gap is between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. Paul fights around 195 to 200 pounds at cruiserweight, while Davis has always been around 135 pounds at lightweight.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight.
And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves.
And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional records.
Boxing purists and athletic commissions have also criticized the matchup. They say such a huge difference would never be allowed under normal rules. Even if it's a catch weight or exhibition, the size gap hurts the sport's credibility.
100%. He should beat Jake Paul, shouldn't he?
No, he shouldn't.
But you don't think? Sorry, so I thought we were all unanimous here. You think that
shouldn't?
You think Jake Paul beats Gervonta Davis?
70 pounds is 70 pounds.
Gervonta Davis is very small. 5'5".
He's tiny, bro. 5'5".
That's
what I'm saying.
Jake Paul,
he's a little man.
If Jake Paul's tucking up,
move on,
and absorbing punishment for walking forward, then look, there's a weight advantage.
Rogan said this fight feels more like a show than a real contest. He called the idea of 135 versus 200 pounds crazy. He's also worried about safety, explaining that a heavier fighter's punches hit much harder. That makes serious injury more likely, especially for the smaller man, even if he's more skilled.
In boxing, so you got Canelo Crawford, you got Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, that's happening, and then you have Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis. That's the state of boxing.
Yeah, that's
right now.
crazy.
Let that sink in.
Jake
that's
Paul,
right
Gervonta Davis is so crazy. 135 versus 200. That is so nuts.
They're all exhibitions.
None of them are.
They're exhibitions.
But what does that mean?
Just means you don't really. Nobody wins.
They're not. Right. It's kind of. I mean,
it's weird.
I don't want Jake to sue me. They're not. It's not like a real scrap. It's not real.
Really? So they're not trying to knock each other out?
No.
Well, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather don't like each other. They have not liked each other forever.
Tyson and Mayweather.
Yes.
But they like
Mike
money.
Tyson and Mayweather don't like each other.
Huh.
If there's a fight that might be real, like where Mike Tyson might say, I'm going to knock this out, or I'm going to try to knock this motherfucker out.
Because of the size concern, the fight will have special rules. It's labeled an exhibition, so it won't count on their records. The bout will use specific gloves, a catch weight of 195 pounds, and judges will score it even though it's not official.
If you do fight, what weight would it be at?
195.
Oh, wow. So he would go all the way from 40 to 95?
Yeah, I mean, it would be an exhibition.
Okay. But and so what does that mean? Is that 3-minute rounds?
Yeah, 10 3-minute rounds.
And when you say exhibition, like what are the restrictions on that?
No restrictions, just the fact that like we couldn't actually get it professionally sanctioned.
Analysts like Daniel Cormier agree, saying Gervonta is the more talented boxer. But the weight difference is too extreme. He believes Jake Paul is simply too big, and the fight feels more like entertainment than sport. Cormier also questioned how such an uneven fight could even be approved by boxing authorities.
It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening. And the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
D, why? Why, D?
Just the fact that like every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to like P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, "Oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening." And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. He's like, I thought
That's
it was
bad,
190.
D.
No, it was 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him.
Yes.
He recognizes that he's too big for him.
Cormier admits Jake Paul is much bigger. He also notes that fighters often dehydrate heavily to make weight. When one fighter rehydrates and becomes much heavier on fight night, it adds danger. The smaller man faces both size and strength disadvantages, making the situation riskier for everyone involved.
I think it's the most dangerous thing in the world. With us, we would go on Thursday night. If I weighed 216 and I had to be 205 by Friday morning, I would get as low as I possibly could and then try to go to bed. So if I'd get to 207, I would hope that by the morning I'd be 206. I'd only have to lose a pound in the morning. So I'm dehydrated for 12, 13, 14 hours. Those guys today are going to bed at that weight, Joe, 10, 11 over, and waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning and cutting the weight. Because they said if they cut all that weight, they don't sleep, which I can attest to. It don't matter how much melatonin you take, you're so dehydrated. You're not gonna get a good night's sleep. I think it's dangerous.
Why is it dangerous?
Because you have to cut 10 pounds in 4 hours. If you don't, you're screwed. Because the worst possible feeling, you expect to lose 8, but you might lose 6 or 5.5. And then you're like.
Cormier also said he's shocked that this fight is even happening. He remembered how Gervonta Davis seemed unsure about the weight class at the press conference. To him, that shows how poorly organized the event is. Boxing's weight divisions are meant to protect fighters, but the confusion around this matchup is a major concern.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And 2, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fighting, D.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
Coach Calvin Ford spoke carefully about the fight, saying he's hopeful but worried about safety. He knows the size difference is big, but says Davis agreed to it. His main concern is glove size. Ford wants Davis to wear 8 ounces gloves while Paul uses 10 ounces ones to even things out. But Paul's team refused. Ford says 12 ounce gloves are for training, not competition.
My only concern is, the gloves. You understand what I'm saying? Because we don't fight in 12 ounce gloves. We don't use 12 ounce gloves. That's training gloves. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's 2 pounds away from Jake. He fights in 10s. Tank fighting 8s. So he losing 4 ounces. So my thing is, I said, they said, put Tank in 8s, put him in 10s. That makes the fight more interesting. You know what I'm saying? And we'll go from there because I understand. And I brought that question up to one of his handlers. They was, no, we don't want to do no mixed match. It's supposed to be an expedition. Why does it matter? What, now y'all want the wins and the loss. You know what I'm saying? All these prescriptions, but you want to be great. Being great is really pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying? Tank don't really care, So when I brought this up, he said, dang, facts. You know what I'm saying? So, again, he can weigh the 10s and we weigh the 8s. Then we got to fight.
Even with the risks, Ford believes the fight can still happen. He's seen Davis handle bigger opponents before. Ford explained that they were first preparing for a Lamont Roach rematch but switched plans. When the Jake Paul fight came up, he says this fight brings more attention and money, and that Davis has earned the right to take big opportunities when they come.
How are we with everything, man? How's Tank been?
In a good headspace, great headspace, looking good. Just trying to go through our stages. It's like pre-camp, then camp. Get them from. We ain't fought in a while. You know what I'm saying? We was getting prepared for Roach, and then we got blessed with this fight. That's how I look at it.
Interesting comment there that they were getting ready for the Roach rematch, and then this fight was, he said they got blessed with this fight, but this fight came through. So the plan was actually to go and rematch Lamont Roach, which is something that I think he should have done. I think they for Tank's legacy, for, just the sanctity of pro boxing when it comes to a world champion and what they do with that world championship belt, I think he should have taken the Lamont Roach rematch. It seems like they were going to, but the obvious reason that everyone, I think, knows why they didn't is because Netflix and a Jake Paul fight come with a massive bag. Like, there's probably no comparison to what Tank will make to fight Lamont Roach or anybody else compared to Jake Paul. Whether you like that or not, it's the truth. He is a money fight, and so is Tank. And that's why they're going to do a shit ton of viewers on Netflix and why they're going to both make a shit ton of money. So the point I want to take away from that is that they were starting to get their minds and body ready for Lamont Roach, which means that Tank was in somewhat of a serious pre-camp, right? Somewhat of a serious, workout regimen, getting himself in shape. Not that Tank is super out of shape out of camp. I don't know that. But this means that he was mentally preparing for a fight regardless. It's not hopping off the couch Tank, which is not what you want to see even against Jake Paul, because the least serious you take Jake, and I've said this about everybody that's fought him, the ones that don't take him serious, the ones that say he's a YouTuber and everything else, they end up losing, or they end up looking like, oh, wait a second, this guy was a little better than I thought. They end up either getting taken by surprise or actually sometimes losing because they don't realize that Jake actually takes it serious. So this is good to hear. Just already right off the rip, they were already doing something.
Surprise. So tell me, when did you hear about this?
They've been going back and forth for years. Tank and Jake, they've been going at it for years, and it would have happened sooner, you know what I'm saying, but we have hiccups in life. That's what I call it, hiccups, but they lessons to learn from. But we back on track and we're keeping it moving.
When you heard about the fight, were you like, wait, what? Like, we're doing what?
Actually, when I heard about the fight, they called me and said, what you thought about the fight? I say, the fight doable.
Joe Rogan says Jake Paul's fights are more about showmanship than competition. He thinks Jake uses boxing to stay in the spotlight, focusing more on hype and betting than sport. Rogan says Gervonta Davis joined for money, not legacy. Davis himself said his goal was to secure his future, not chase titles. So this fight makes sense for him. It's about money and exposure, not history.
That was Jake Paul promoting it. It's just doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching
it
it
bothers
is
the fuck out
hard.
of me.
Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia, so it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
Thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way they can.
Yeah.
Many experts are surprised that Gervonta Davis would risk fighting Jake Paul just for a paycheck. They question why a new world champion would fight a YouTuber instead of defending his title. Daniel Cormier said it's strange that Tank seems to need money after big success. He sees this as desperation or poor management. Cormier believes Tank should protect his reputation instead of taking a mismatched, risky fight.
Then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. I thought
That's
it was
bad,
190. No, it's 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad. Because you know what that tells me? That tells me that even he recognizes that he's too big for him.
Yes.
He recognizes that he's too big for him.
I'm wondering how this even came about. It can't be that Gervonta Davis needs money. That can't be the reason why
He's been a world
taking this
champion
fight.
so recently. How could he be broke?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he doing this for money? And then why and how is even Jake Paul doing this when no one respects it? Like,
But
I
Jake
can't
Paul-
think of anybody that respects this.
But Jake Paul has been able to carve out and make his own lane in boxing, and I've never seen anything like it, bro. He literally, I mean, we don't know what weight class he fights in any situation. We just don't know. He kind of makes his own rules.
He makes his own rules.
And it seems like people are playing by those rules.